Here.
Okay, I'm starting the meeting.
Okay,
We're
Polly,
starting. We're on.
Paula or JJ, you need to do a roll call at the beginning to make sure you have quorum. Thank you.
So that's
Would you like
the
to do
first
it?
thing that should happen.
Okay, are we ready for roll call?
Yes, I think we are. Let's find out who's here.
Okay. Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Claire,
Here.
Commissioner Coffey,
Here.
Commissioner Privet,
Present.
Commissioner Hinkle,
Here.
Commissioner Highsmith,
Here.
Commissioner Pennington,
Here.
Commissioner Cravens, Commissioner Cravens,
Here.
Commissioner LaForge, Commissioner LaForge,
So I was not able to get through the Zoom, so I can hear you on my phone. You may have to unmute me on my phone. Does that work?
that
We
works.
can see
I'm just-
you. How is that possible if you're not in on Zoom?
It said that my speakers were not working, even though I've not had this problem before. So I called in and now I have an echo of myself. I hope you guys can't hear that.
So, Commissioner
We can hear it
LaForge,
very well.
you may just mute the speakers on your computer to eliminate the echo.
Okay, you're right, because I should be able to hear everybody on my phone. Okay. Well, no, I don't know. I didn't think I could hear you guys. I'll mess with it a little bit.
That's better.
Okay, so we're all here. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma City Planning Commission for Thursday, May 14th. Our second meeting to be held via Zoom, and for some of us, OKC.gov, Prime Gov. We're meeting this way because of the coronavirus pandemic and the need to maintain social distancing, but it's important that the work of the Planning Commission continue within the limitations of our distancing requirements and the Open Meeting Act. We're going to continue to meet via Zoom conferencing as far as I know for a while. So thanks for your participation and your patience. This change in format will mean we do a few things a little bit differently. If the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting will stop and we'll reconvene once the connection is restored. If for any reason communications cannot be restored. Excuse me?
It started now.
If
1:30.
for-
I muted that person.
If for any reason communications cannot be restored within 30 minutes, those items that have not been heard will be continued to the next regularly scheduled meeting on May 28th at 1:30 p.m., which will also be conducted by video conference as far as I know. The agenda and documents are located at okc.gov. Staff will present each item to be heard, summarizing the application and identifying any points remaining to be resolved. Anyone who wishes to speak about an agenda item or to speak under citizens to be heard, ideally, you'll have previously notified staff by phone or email, or will have signed up online, and I'll call on you to speak at the appropriate time. If not, I'll also call for public comment on each agenda item. Anyone who calls in after their item has been heard will be allowed to speak under citizens to be heard. When you're called upon to speak, participants should state their name and address for the record. All comments and questions should be directed to the commission. Because of the unusual circumstances and the challenges of this format, we'll hold to time limits on speakers' comments. So please be brief. If more than one person wishes to speak on an item, please try not to repeat comments already made. As participants call in, staff will mute the participant's line. Please keep your line on mute until you are recognized to speak. To unmute your phone, press *6. Staff will not mute the commissioners who are allowed to ask questions or comment at any time during the meeting. However, I would like each of the commissioners to mute themselves unless they wish to speak, just using the mute capability on their own device. Otherwise, the background noise can be distracting. Please remember that only one person can be heard at a time. If more than one person speaks, neither one can be heard. There'll be a roll call every 30 minutes. All votes will be by roll call. And I'm calling this meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the receipt of the minutes of the April 23rd, 2020 meeting.
Commissioner Hinkle, so moved. Second.
I have a motion, a second, to receive the minutes of the April 23rd, 2020 meeting. Please cast your votes. Who's calling roll?
Paula, can you call roll?
Can't.
Are you there, Paula?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Commissioner Powers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Clare?
Yes.
Commissioner Coffey?
Yes.
Commissioner LaForge? Commissioner LaForge, how do you vote?
Okay, can you hear me on my computer then? Yes.
Yes.
So I'm gonna get this echo the whole time, unless you can unmute me through my phone.
You press *6 to unmute your phone.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm sorry, did we get all the way through the roll?
No, I'm still waiting on one last vote. Commissioner LaForge, how do you vote for the minutes?
Yes.
Okay,
Could you
so
still
I
hear
missed
me?
part of that, I guess, because I didn't hear Highsmith or Pennington or Cravens.
We voted on PrimeGov.
I think we need to do it one way or the other. If we're gonna have to call roll, then let's vote vocally, please.
Do them all vocally?
I think
Do you
so,
want to
yes.
Okay. Do you want to redo this vote?
No, that's fine. You've got it recorded. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so continuance requests, next item on the agenda.
We have 4 test requests. Item 27 has been deferred to July 9th. Items 28, 29, and 30 have all been withdrawn. And we have 4 new requests for continuance. Item 5 requested to defer to May 28th. Also, item 21 to May 28th. Item 23 requested to defer to June 11th, and item 24 requested to defer to May 28th.
Is there anybody present who wishes to be heard on any of those items? If not, I'll take a motion.
Commissioner Coffey, I make the motion that the uncontested request be approved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the continuance and or withdrawal of items 5, 21, 23, 24, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Cast your votes, please.
Commissioner Powers,
Yes?
Commissioner Claire,
Yes.
Commissioner Coffee,
yes,
Commissioner Privet,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle, Commissioner Hinkle,
Yes.
Commissioner Highsmith,
Yes.
Commissioner Pennington,
Yes.
Commissioner Cravens,
Aye.
Commissioner LaForge,
Yes.
Are there any additional requests for continuance from anyone? If not, we'll move on to items to be heard. You have the consent docket, which is generally a group of cases which are uncontested and relatively routine. We vote on them in a block. Would you read those for us, Mr. Butler?
Yes, item 1 is an application by Take 4 Development to close the 60-foot right-of-way of South Ellison Avenue, extending south from West Sheridan Avenue. Item 2 is an application to close the rights-of-way easements for the MAPS 3 Lower Downtown Park, bounded by West Interstate 40 and Southwest 15th Street between South Robinson Avenue and South Walker Avenue, north of Southwest 10th Street, and between South Robinson Avenue and South Harvey Avenue, south of Southwest 10th Street.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on either of those items? If not, I'll take a motion.
Second.
I didn't hear a motion.
Move approval of the consent docket.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a motion, a second, to approve the consent docket. Cast your votes, please.
Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Claire,
Aye.
Commissioner Coffee,
yes,
Commissioner Privet,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle,
Aye.
Commissioner Highsmith, Commissioner Highsmith,
Aye. Apologies.
Commissioner Pennington,
Aye.
Commissioner Cravens,
Aye.
Commissioner LaForge.
Yes.
We have items requiring separate vote. Would you read those out for us, please? I'm sorry, I should say the items 1 and 2 are approved.
Item 3,
Mr. Butler?
Item 3, PUD SP 1532A is an application for a specific plan located at 3801 Northwest 166th Street.
This JJ, this application is a specific plan for 2 office warehouse buildings at the Port 164 development at the northwest corner of 164th and Portland. The buildings are located interior to the site and front on Northwest 166th Street. The specific plan includes all the building elevations, building materials, landscape materials. Staff found that it meets the technical requirements of the approved PUD 1532, and Johnson and Associates represent the applicant.
Commissioner Cravens, did you have anything you wanted to tell us about this application?
Yes, thank you. No, I reviewed the application. Staff indicates that the specific plan meets the technical requirements of PUD 1532. So unless there's other questions or someone wants to be heard on the item, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on this item? Commissioners, any questions, comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve item number 3, PUD SP 1532A.
Second.
I'm
I have
sorry,
a
who was the
motion.
second?
I'm sorry. I have a motion and a second to approve item number 3. Cast your votes, please.
Commissioner Powers,
Yes?
Commissioner Claire,
Aye.
Commissioner Coffee,
Aye.
Commissioner Privet,
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle,
Aye.
Commissioner Highsmith,
Aye.
Commissioner Pennington,
Aye.
Commissioner Cravens,
Aye.
Commissioner LaForge.
Yes.
Item number 3 is approved.
Item 4 is an application, SPUD 1214, application to rezone 1512 Rockwood Avenue from R4 to SPUD 1214.
This application seeks to rezone a small parcel at the northeast corner of Southwest 15th and Rockwood Avenue. Rockwood is 2 blocks west of South Penn. And it's to rezone from R2 to an SPUD with an NB Neighborhood Business District base. It's also located within the Scenic River Overlay Design District, and the PUD incorporates those regulations. And anything built on the site will require design review approval. The Riverfront Design Committee reviewed the SPUD on May 7th and recommended approval. Staff found it to be consistent with the development in the area and the comp plan, and recommend approval with 1 technical evaluation. I might take just a second right here. I know in your staff report, you've probably noticed a new and fairly lengthy comment in the drainage section. And we've also taken the regulatory language from that statement and made a technical evaluation for these reports. And basically what it does, it states that the detention and drainage requirements will be assessed and reviewed at the time of development rather than at the time of rezoning. Sometimes these applications don't get built for months to even years after the rezoning is approved. And in that time, drainage requirements can change. So this would assess the requirements at the time of development rather than put those requirements in stone at the zoning stage. Once we get this language incorporated into the template for the PUD documents, you won't really see it again as a technical evaluation. At any rate, the applicant does agree with the technical evaluation in this case, and the applicant should be on the line if you have any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions of staff or the applicants? Commissioner Highsmith, did you have anything you wanted to tell us about this application?
No, after review with the Scenic River Overlay Design Commission's recommendation for approval, I have no other issues and I'm ready to make a motion.
Before you do that, Madam Chair, JJ, on this note, what practical issues does that create for developers or things like that who purchase property that, had already been zoned? I mean, what challenges is that going to create from a development standpoint that they're not facing today? And what feedback did you get from people in that regard? I mean, have you talked to some of the folks that are the usual suspects from an engineering and development standpoint to see their thoughts on it?
Have not. This came just directly from the city engineer's office.
I would just be curious to know before I know we don't set precedent, so to speak, in these cases, but since we're talking about adopting this uniformly across all PUDs, this seems like something we should discuss with folks and see what concerns they have. It reminds me a little bit of that. I just don't want it to be another one of those deals like the 20, we can't build within 20 feet of a city water line when it used to be 10. And then all of a sudden there's all this uproar about it when people come to realize that it's starting to be included, and we've already begun approving applications with that language. I'm just curious what practical effect it has and what concerns those folks might actually have about it.
I also think that if this is going to become standard, I won't use the word boilerplate, but standard language, that we probably ought to have some sort of explanation from Public Works, and get some kind of context, background, explanation, whatever word you want to plug in there. Why are we making this change? What is it intended to accomplish? What, if any, possible complications are foreseeable? And, if we need to encourage some outreach to the development industry, then I think that'd be a good time to do that too.
Well, I guess since we're having the conversation, I would ask the question in terms of concerns about this. To me, I'm curious how I would look at it differently than, say, building code. Obviously, building code is not tied to to zoning.
They had never been here before.
Somebody's sees this as important to discuss. Obviously, anytime you go to build a building, I mean, you're gonna be subject to whatever the newest code is, and I'd assume that this is kind of trying to do this a same or similar thing for drainage, where we all know we have a lot of issues with drainage, and it's not like we can tie drainage requirements or I mean, I suppose we can, but I don't know that we should tie today's drainage requirements to development that might happen 10 or 15 years down the road. I recognize too that, if you get a certain plan, if you get approved for a specific plan and you don't build it, and at some period of time, you do have to come back to us. But I'm just curious, like, Scott, maybe if you could answer this, like what you envision being the issue, or if you just simply think, well, we need to ask others what they might envision being the issue.
I mean, that's
well, so I have two comments there, which would be, Francis Kersey, you might put yourself on mute there. Two comments on it, Asa. The first would be that if you can't figure out if you're the idiot in the room, you probably are. I don't know the practical implications, but I know that over time, as we've come out or staff has come out with changes, that has been met with some pushback. And I don't know what we should anticipate, and I don't fully know what this might change as opposed to how things have been done in the past. Maybe it's a formality, or maybe it's something substantive. To me, my concern would be that we get a plan approved, that somebody has a plan approved that doesn't account for drainage. Then all of a sudden they go to pull that permit and there's a problem because staff holds it up. And now you've got something that's tied up administratively for a month or two while they try and sort it out. And that's not a good outcome from a development perspective if the process has been followed properly. Similarly, though, on the other side, staff could be facing a problem here with drainage issues that may need to be addressed more seriously. And so that's why they've decided to include it. I don't know. This is the first time it's ever appeared, and it came out of nowhere, which I hate to say this, but that's become kind of the pattern, which I don't care for. Just so staff is clear, that's not the right way to handle stuff like this. Never seeing it before, and then all of a sudden open my staff report and I start seeing this verbiage. It's unnerving. So those would be my comments.
I would say that there's a third alternative there, and that is that it's not really a change at all, except a change in language in the staff report. This may be simply a restatement of what policy is always been, and this is the way things work. They just want to make sure that everybody's clear about it. So that's why I say I think we might want to get an explanation on it.
Madam Chair, this is Tim Johnson. Can I speak?
Of course, yes.
So this comes up on our case, item number 16. And my comment, and I've tried to vet it with Public Works, you know, and like Commissioner Craven said, we've only had it since I printed the staff reports on Monday, was the first time I had read this. And I don't object to what the staff's trying to do, and that's to clarify some things, but I would take exception to the way it's worded and some of the methodology that is used in changing criteria without the public knowing. And so my comment would be, when we get to my item, I'm going to ask that we not put that on my as a TE until it's vetted with the development community.
And that's problematic. You know, on the one hand, it seems onerous perhaps to ask each of the applicants here today that have this language appear on their staff report or as a technical evaluation to take a continuance while we do that. On the other hand, you know, I really am reluctant to simply disregard the request of staff on an item like this. Is there somebody here who can actually speak to us from staff about why this is happening, what it means, what the intent is?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jared. I was just going to introduce you. And I do have a little information from, this came from Eric Winger, the Public Works Director. And what he said in an email was that there's concern that there have been cases where many months and sometimes years pass between the time of planning approval and the time plans are submitted. During this time, there could be FEMA map revisions, ordinance updates, or detention determination updates. So this just allows for drainage and detention requirements to be determined when plans are submitted and not when the planning case is approved, to ensure the correct requirements are being placed at the right time during project development. Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, but I presume that this would be all done by ordinance and by the rules that Public Works establishes, and they go through a process of doing that. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody when and if these things change over the years.
That's correct. Nothing has, I think you and JJ explained it pretty well. Nothing has changing here. We're still doing the same thing. I think the issue lies that our ordinance, drainage ordinance, is very reactive, and it changes. You know, circumstances out in the field can change between when a PUD is approved and when the development goes to site plan stage. And we've always been determining whether detention is required or not at the site plan stage. I think that you know, we've been putting in whether the detention is required or not into the PUD, and that's what has happened with that determination at this stage, is that you know, 6 months can go by and nothing happens, and you know, then you know, the site is developed and plans are created and things have changed out in the field. And so it's a way to try to address that issue that has kind of come about recently, apparently.
Well, and if I don't believe that is really any different than what we've been hearing from developers for a long time. They're not prepared at the zoning stage to, you know, lay out their full drainage plan, and you know, that engineering work isn't done until they have some reason to think they should do it, i.e. their zoning in hand. Let me ask Mr. Johnson, if I can, did you just hear anything that gives you pause in terms of what it is they're trying to accomplish?
Like I mentioned at first, I don't have a problem with the what they're trying to achieve. I think there's just not been enough time to really go through this language and understand what does this really mean. And I'm not the developer,
that is a separate issue, and I totally understand that. It would be a good idea, I think, to get some feedback on, you know, how it's going to apply and what it really says, and if it says what it really means.
I just don't think there's been something that has happened in such an urgency that this has to be adopted with a week's worth of review. That's my.
I tend to agree with that.
I would recommend that we put this TE off and delete them today. I hate to hold these people up.
I agree.
And it hasn't been there's no big emergency right here. It is something we need to look at, and maybe we could do a get together with the Urban Development Committee or something. But in the reports that we have today, we could either delete them, or if the applicant agrees to them, we can leave them in and move on.
I think that's the best course of action, frankly, unless anybody, violently disagrees. I don't want it to take forever. As I know it's not easy to get the Urban Development Committee together, especially these days. But, I think there needs to be some feedback from the development community, the people who actually, live and breathe this work day in and day out, and how it's going to apply to them and what any sort of unforeseen consequences might be, et cetera. So I think your suggestion is a good one, JJ.
And can I just say, Madam Chair, I think, would it be appropriate for us to go ahead and schedule a committee meeting for the commission to specifically hear about from staff and vet this like we would any other kind of policy measure?
Absolutely, yes.
We will do that.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else want to be heard on this item? And I guess someone needs to tell me what it is we're going to do about this particular item and that language. Is our applicant here?
Sharon, can you hear me? I'm sorry, I had you on mute.
I can hear you, yes.
I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Did you call for the applicant? I'm sorry.
Yes, I
think you
did. I
apologize.
did.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm here. I kept muting the phone. What was your question?
Well, we are discussing language that has been added to the staff report in the form of a TE that has to do with compliance with drainage requirements at the time of development rather than at the time of approval of the zoning. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Whatever the commission feels it's necessary, then I'll go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I can, first
Yes.
of all, I think we should get her name and address for the record, because I don't think she gave
Absolutely.
us that.
Yes, yes. Would you
Okay.
give us your name and
Hello?
address for the record?
Of course, yes. My name is Syrian De Leon, and I'm calling on behalf of my spouse, Samil Severino, and the address is 1512 Rockwood Avenue. That's the property that we're trying to rezone.
Thank you.
I think I would suggest for her benefit, being that, at least as close to you can get in this body, this is a pro se applicant. My suggestion is that since there is some disagreement over this verbiage, that we should strike TE1 from this, and what would be item number 11 under the required comments from staff under storm sewer availability, which I think addresses the same thing. I think that's what JJ said. I think we should strike those things for her benefit.
Commissioners, how do we feel about that suggestion?
I think that's fair in light of the fact that we don't even know exactly the implications based on that language. So I don't feel comfortable with a pro se applicant being able to defend themselves. So I think we should strike it.
Yep.
Do others wish to be heard? If not,
I'm ready to make a motion.
I think we're ready for a motion.
Well, this is Commissioner Highsmith. I make a recommendation to Oklahoma City Council to approve SPUD 1214, striking TE number 1 and removing the associated language in the SPUD language as identified.
Can I get a second?
Availability.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were not finished.
You're fine. You guys know what I'm saying. I think it's a good motion unless you guys have any issues.
I'll second the motion to approve the item, deleting TE1 and the corresponding comment in the staff report.
Commissioner Powers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Coffey?
Aye.
Commissioner Privet?
Aye.
Commissioner Hinkle?
Aye.
Commissioner Pennington?
Aye.
Commissioner Cravens?
Aye.
Commissioner LaForge? Commissioner LaForge?
I'm a yes. At some point, the phone told me that I was muted. So I have to go back to my computer, which has an echo.
Thank you.
It was approved unanimously.
Let me make the comment. I don't believe, our vote requires that we remove comments from the staff report. Although I think it's a good direction to give staff that as this item goes forward to council, that comment should be removed from the staff report.
Okay,
Item 6.
Item 5 has been continued. Item 6, SPUD 1216 is located at Northeast 122nd Street, and it's going to be rezoned from PUD 1481 to SPUD 1216.
This application seeks to rezone 3 parcels at the Links multifamily development at 122nd and Kelly. These 3 pieces were zoned under PUD 1481 in 2013, commercial. They've not developed commercial since that time, and the developer wishes to take those back to multifamily and develop them consistent with the rest of the development. Staff review recommended approval with our drainage TE, and Chris Gray with Craft and Tull is the applicant.
I guess before we ask for other comments and questions, it probably behooves us at this point to ask Mr. Gray how he feels about the language in the drainage TE.
Yes, thank you for opportunity to present our project. We understand the intent. However, I agree with the comments that have been made about this TE, that we haven't had enough time to really understand the full implications of the meeting, and we would prefer that would be treated consistently across as it was with the previous application. So that's kind of my initial thoughts.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any comments, questions, or concerns on this application?
I just have one comment, Madam Chair, and one question for staff on it. First, Chris Gray, if you would, and this is really strange, but be sure and go ahead and give us your name and address for the record so we can attach those to your comments. And then question for staff would be, there's a, I think there's finally a signalized intersection being installed at I-235 and 122nd. As I drive by it on the highway, or I used to drive by it on the highway, I would notice it. Any update on when that will be completed?
Anybody?
This is Jeff. I am not aware of that. Is there anybody from Public Works Traffic on the line?
I don't believe so, Jeffrey. This is Jared Norris with Public Works.
Hello.
I think. Oh, there
Hello,
he
this is
Okay.
Richard with Traffic Management.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. The signal is has been constructed, but they have to relocate the pedestrian signals that were put in the wrong place. And the contractor took a break due to the virus, and they should be getting back to that here shortly. That's all we're waiting on, is just to get the pedestrian signals in the right location.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you